supposed to be better or worse because you're drinking alcohol?
Who knows? Apparently, the worse I get, the better everything is for the show. So, better or worse. That should be the name of, if we did a podcast and just talked, it'd be called For Better or Worse. You'd be the better, I'd be the worse.
What kind of person drinks Jim Beam?
That doesn't matter. I thought, is that, okay, I can't say the thing. Is there something less manly about drinking Jim Beam? I thought hard liquor was...
No, I just don't drink Jim Beam. I'll drink Jack Daniels, but mostly what I'll drink is Jameson.
Like whiskey, don't you?
Jameson whiskey. Jim Beam is whiskey.
I almost bought...
What'd you get? Yeah, Jim Beam is whiskey.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. I think. I mean...
Dude...
Why don't you seem any happier, though?
I thought we established that my misery is funny. So...
Yeah, but I need a reprieve, man.
I'm gonna be gone for a month.
Yeah, but in a month.
And technically you're never home except when we do this.
Yeah, but I just need a reprieve from the constant barrage of...
Constant barrage?
Suffering.
You never see me.
It's the constant barrage, but when I do see you, it's constant. 100%. When I see you 100% of the time, you're miserable. 100% of the time, you're miserable 100% of the time. When I see you, that 100% of the time, even if it's 5 minutes out of the day, you're miserable.
Does it help that I'm less miserable than I could be because I'm making an effort?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why don't you seem happier with the...
Don't. It'll just get depressing if I go into the mechanics. Let's just say I'm as proactive as I could possibly be. This is the best version of me anyone's ever gonna get. I don't remember any of this shit. It's a funny happens when it happens. You can't just invent funny. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Movieisms. I'm Becca Meyer.
I feel like at some point, maybe the first time we start getting actual feedback from the show is when people complain about how it's just the same thing over and over. Enough about Brad's misery. Can we talk about something else? At that point, I would say, well, listen to another podcast, because that's all you're going to get. This is all I have.
For those of you that listen, that may or may not listen to our Film Reverie podcast, which is about filmmaking, the filmmaking side of movies, we basically do the same show over there, except we talk about how we make movies. Brad still complains, and I still become Brad. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same brand, if you will, same branding.
Are we the odd couple? Oh wait, we're not a couple. But why do they call it the odd couple? They're not the couple either.
You know, Cooge, who was on our show just earlier this week on
Film Reverie,
he referred to us as the as Click and Clack. Do you know who that is?
No.
The Click and Clack brothers, the car guys on NPR.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh, that's right, because you're not aware of things that don't involve you.
I'm not even aware of things that involve me, so...
That's also true.
Yep.
Since you missed almost 2 doctor's appointments this week.
That
involved
my
you.
Fault.
The first one, the second one was where you had to go to the thing, but you'd forgotten about it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's not get into medical shit. That would get depressing. They're gonna cut me up and just whatever. Okay. The end. I'll be okay. I'll survive.
Oh, great.
Unless I pick up a bacterial infection while I'm in there, and then I may die. So this may be the last podcast. Some people are thinking, "Oh, thank God."
So we saw 2 movies.
Welcome to Movieisms. I know you said it already.
We saw 2 movies this week. so far. I'm planning on seeing a bunch while I'm off of Thanksgiving break. But we saw Widows, which we're going to do a full review of. But before that, we saw The Crimes of Grindelwald, the umpteenth Harry Potter franchise movie.
Yeah.
And we have some complaints.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I'm going to say I loved the Harry Potter books, and I thought all of the films were very well done adaptations of the books.
Even the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, that was a book.
No, it wasn't.
I could have swore it was.
No, it was. That's what it was. Is that it was the first Harry Potter franchise film that did not have a book. It was based on
she
first.
wrote a book.
No, that's why they haven't been as good.
Maybe I got confused because the movie's about a guy who's writing a book.
Right. The Fantastic Beast was a book inside the Harry Potter.
That's where I got confused.
Yeah. So
also, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And I'm ignorant.
Yeah. Well, back to what you said about the show being the same every week. Yeah, we've established that. So, The Crimes of Grindelwald, which is Fantastic Beasts 2.
No, well, I guess.
It is Fantastic Beasts 2.
Right, it had very little to do with the Beast this time.
Yes.
I mean, we saw like 3...
But whether it had anything to do with it or not, that's pertaining to our review. It is the sequel to Fantastic Beasts. It is the second movie in the Fantastic Beasts, thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
It's in the Fantastic Beasts world, I guess.
Why can't you just say it's the Fantastic Beasts sequel? It's the sequel to Fantastic Beasts. It's got the same main character. It's about that guy.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be about that guy.
It's just, it was disappointing. It wasn't...
Okay, so I loved all the Harry Potter movies. I did not love Fantastic Beasts, but it was okay.
I will go as far as say it's good. Maybe 3.5. For some people, it might be 4 stars, but it's okay. It's slightly better than okay. It was. I watched it the other day, and I enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first time. I was a little but I got more out of it.
Everybody listening knows you have.
I watched the entire series in like 1 month, like 2 movies a weekend. And then watched that one, and I got a lot more out of it. Also, because there was, I guess they planned on, I don't know. I watched all the Harry Potter movies to see where they mentioned Grindelwald, and maybe learn a little more about it. And I think the last couple movies, there's more mention. There's even they open up a book that used to be Dumbledore's, and I even paused it because you could read some of the paper, what was on the paper. So yeah, they already, whether she planned it or not, I bet they planned it all the way back then.
I don't know if she planned it or not, but she is known for having tons of backstory that she hinted at in the books or in the movies, but that she never really went into. Like, she knows all the lore.
Grindelwald was hinted at all through the with 3 different Harry Potter movies. I heard and saw mention of Grindelwald.
Yeah. And then they made this movie. It was the first movie that she actually wrote as a screenwriter.
Like, they used to be friends, Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and then something happened when they got older, and they just, I guess, became enemies.
So, the first Fantastic Beast was the first movie that J.K. Rowling actually wrote herself.
And it was good.
Yeah, it was okay. And then this one comes out, and it's really like 2.5 hours long. I didn't get the exact running time, but it's about 2.5 hours long.
Oh my god!
And I'm gonna say nothing happens. Nothing happens. My main complaint is that the main characters have no bearing on the story. They are trailing a mystery, and then we see what happens, and then we see them get to the thing, and so we see whatever happens. And then we cut to the main characters coming in and discovering what happened, and then rewatch it with them as they magically figure it out.
Yeah, and then you realize, I really didn't know what actually happened. I just told this whole story so that you knew that I don't know the answer.
Right.
And then you're like, thanks for wasting my time. I didn't need a 20-minute visual on how you still don't know the answer, but okay.
And then there's some boy at the very beginning that people just start talking about. There's no introduction to the kid, to the boy.
The Obscura?
No, the kid who the whole movie's about.
The Obscura. He was in the first one. That's what Fantastic Beasts the first was about.
Really? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, the Obscura. The story is that someone who is magical, a wizard, I guess, but they repress their magical ability, don't let it out, don't do anything with it, like they're made to suppress. Like he was brought up by some evil, in some kind of orphanage, I guess, whatever, but some evil. I mean, they were evil. They sort of abused him verbally and a little bit physically. He wasn't allowed to just be himself, let alone a wizard. So the thing is that someone who suppresses their magical ability, kind of like a volcano building up and then exploding. So their magical powers are uncontrolled. So like, if they get emotional, then their powers just come out, and so that he turns into this little cloud of just uncontrolled. And it's so powerful and uncontrolled and wild that most of the time they have to kill what they call the Obscura.
Okay,
so it has been about him.
I remember that now.
Okay,
so
look at me, the guy who.
Well, you did just rewatch it.
Yeah,
I didn't care for it much. Yeah, look at you spilling alcohol over my computer.
That's what alcohol does.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at
it's
me.
Stuck to the napkin.
Look at me remembering things. Whoops! I spilled it. I spilled it. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, so
God, really made a mess.
So. All right, so that's the first one. And then the second one, they just start talking about the kid. Now they want to know who he's related to, right? They want to know who is he? Where did this kid come from?
Yeah, like, for some reason, everyone in this movie is like, who is he really? What's his name? Who's his parents?
Yeah, and they walk around.
Who cares is my question, but
fine. If we want to know who he is, that's fine. The whole, a lot of the new Star Wars movies are about who is Rey, but motivate it somehow. Like, let us, make it about something. They literally walk around in circles for 2.5 hours and accomplish nothing and know nothing and figure out nothing. And Johnny Depp's just walking around giving speeches about how I'm the Grindelwald and it's the purebloods and the half-bloods and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But nothing ever happens. They do have a battle near the end, which is
it's not even
to be
really
expected,
a battle.
And it's not even really a battle because they've decided, I guess, that nothing's going to happen in this movie. And then at the end, the guy comes, and then somebody just says, "Oh, here's who you are," and you're like, "What? You knew this the whole time? Why didn't you just tell somebody?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how is it he's the only one that knows?
And by the way, he's not, because whoever his brother is also knows and just won't say.
Yeah, okay. Number one. Other than Harry Potter, I think most people's favorite character in the Harry Potter series is probably Dumbledore.
So popular that they brought his younger self back in Jude Law, who does a good job.
Everyone's talking about Dumbledore and Grindelwald in this movie, and about how powerful how Grindelwald is like the most powerful, and Dumbledore is the only one as powerful that can match him. But for some reason, they made some kind of pact or something, and they can't. They vowed not to fight each other. But here's the thing: it's like, you don't get this. They don't do anything with Dumbledore the whole movie.
Yeah, he just
lays back
comes and goes. It's like, why is he even in the movie? Can't do anything.
Doesn't do anything.
Why is he even there?
Why?
There's no reason for him to be there. They just put him there because they knew it was going to bring people in to see the movie because they want to see young Dumbledore.
I said it'd be like making a Star Wars movie and talking about how powerful Luke Skywalker is, and maybe the bad guy that he's supposed to fight, and neither the bad guy or Luke Like, you never see Luke in the movie. He doesn't do anything. Doesn't do any powers. Doesn't lightsaber battle. Nothing. He doesn't even train anyone. He just kind of says hi a couple of times. And then the bad guy doesn't do anything but make speeches. And then, you know, that's what this movie was like.
Yeah.
You want things that you don't get. It's like they make promises that you and don't deliver.
So what's frustrating, though, is I guess there are people who enjoy... We were sitting in a full theater. The girl next to me, who was there with her husband or something, she was crying in the end. Like, it was an emotional experience for her. It was for me, too, but I had a different emotion.
Anger?
Frustration. It was just like...
I was bored for an hour. It was so
boring. In fact, my daughter, as soon as the movie started, it took her about 5 minutes. She wasn't feeling well, so she had an excuse. She just knocked out. She went to sleep. She's out. I couldn't even wake her up. She wasn't feeling well. So I'm sitting there, like, waiting for something to happen. Also thinking, if nothing was going to happen, could nothing have happened in 2 hours instead of 2.5 hours? Can we... Or
an hour and a half.
Keep it, you know...
Yeah, I started... Like, I'm to the point now where... We had Bohemian Rhapsody was over 2 hours.
2 hours and 12 minutes.
Well, it's still over, technically. I'm getting tired. I used to be on board with, you know, yes, you can tell a better story with 2 hours. But now I'm like, every other movie is over 2 hours, and more often than not, we do a show, and I say, it was an hour too long. I was bored for an hour, you just stretched it too much. It's just too much talking and explanatory.
If you're watching a 90-minute long movie and it's slow, it feels like 2 hours.
I think
if you're watching a good movie like the one we just saw, Widows.
Yeah. I'm not complaining.
Is a longer movie.
Right. We'll explain the difference between good talking and storytelling as opposed to bad. This was just bad storytelling. I said it was sloppy.
Sloppy, and the magic isn't all that magical.
There's no rules.
Effects, the visual effects look low budget.
Yeah,
look a little...
Everyone just waves wands around, and all these amazing things happen. Like, nobody says a word.
Widows is only 128 minutes. It felt a little longer than that, but it didn't feel like that because
we got more out of...
We got so much more in that 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, be prepared if you haven't seen it yet. Be prepared to be disappointed. Don't expect much out of it. Also, be prepared for characters to do what they wouldn't normally do. Do things that don't make sense. And betray their own character. There's like 3 or 4 characters in this movie that do things that don't make sense. Pretty much everyone. There was a point where the supposed girlfriend or love interest of the main guy who captures all the beasts, so he does this little trick to capture I'm going to call it a dragon, because dragons in Chinese folklore had like a lion face and a long, tail of a body. So the dragon was awesome. So he did this little trick with this little ringy, this little stick with a ring that made a noise.
A cat toy.
Yeah. Sort of like a cat toy. It had a face of a cat. That makes sense. So the other character had never, the love interest, the lady, never seen that, didn't know anything about this animal or how to do it. Later on in the movie, he lets it out to help them fight somebody or save people. I forget. There was there was some evil cats that they were trying to fight off, so he let the dragon out to help them fight off the cats. But then all of a sudden she grabs, where did she get the toy from? How does she know that? How does she know that? There was people know things that they shouldn't know and do things that they shouldn't do. My main
problem is the uncontrollable, dangerous dragon that everybody's afraid of. He just lets out to help them, and the thing automatically helps. And then he waves a little cat toy and gets it to go back in the suitcase. It's what? What ferocious beast is going to be tricked by a little cat toy?
Well, I guess they're trying to. We know cats will follow the laser pointer
repeatedly,
but then a lion. If you do that to a lion, it's not going to follow the laser pointer.
Repeatedly, also, like it happens multiple times. It's like, oh, right, we're good. I like the toy. Oops, I'm getting sucked back into the suitcase.
You would think the toy would need to be bigger.
Yeah,
as big as that was. Anyway,
nothing happens. Boring. Like I was saying, the only real crime of Grindelwald is that it was a bad movie.
I think. Okay, let's end it. I'll end what I have to say on this. What happens is I'm going to say the writer J.K. Rowling. She breaks all of her rules, all of her Harry Potter Wizarding World rules. In Harry Potter movies, they go in depth on how you need all these ingredients and you need to do this and do that and say these words and feel this and do that. There's all of this stuff that goes into casting spells, where you can't just wave a wand, not say anything, and all these amazing things happen. You have to do things to control it or whatever. In this movie, it's just out of control. Everything's nonsensical. Like, for example, one of the rules she breaks is the suitcase. It's supposed to be like a door. What is it? It's like a movable door, right? So, like a door latches closed and then opens. So somehow she breaks the rules and it's not a door anymore. And there's like a tear in the side of the suitcase. And one of the animals just... there's a tear in it, but that's not how it works. It's not a door unless it opens. You know what I'm saying? The door's closed unless the suitcase opens. So it can't just find a tear. It doesn't. Yeah.
The well thought out detail and mystery and characters is not there in this movie. That was there in any of the Harry Potter movies.
It just goes.
I can't believe the same person created the same stories.
It doesn't seem like it.
Doesn't seem like it. It
seems like someone else came in and wrote and directed this movie because the characters are just not. Just not. It's not good. And I will say that we're probably being harsh, but I guess
because I think people seemed.
Maybe we expect too much, and maybe she's written everything she has to write about that world.
I don't know. Well, stop making movies then. Stop making movies about it. If you've written everything you need to write about it, stop making movies.
I feel like she's tired. She doesn't want to do it anymore, and she's being forced to.
No, she chose to do this. This was her idea. This whole Fantastic Beasts spin-off thing was her doing. She created a whole production company.
Yes, I feel like she doesn't need the money at this point.
She definitely doesn't need the money. But they're trying to continue the stories, and is a massive franchise. Yeah. But this is my problem with franchises that keep putting out movies that it's kind of like diversifying. Like when you diversify your company, it weakens the original brand more and more and more and more and more just because you have more things pulling from it. For me, it's messing with Harry Potter, which is I won't say flawless because I'm sure it's not perfect. I haven't really thought about it. But from Potter 1 to Potter 7, like the 7, I mean, she nailed it. Get out while you're ahead. You know?
I've watched all of them recently. So like before, if you just saw them in order, there's like 1 or 2 years in between each one, and by the time you get to the 4th or 5th one, you kind of forget, things that happened in the 1st or 2nd one, or how it just all becomes the same movie, But having watched them all recently, each movie adds more and more to the world, explaining it more, making it better and more in depth. You learn more about the characters and how magic works and all of that. This last movie, you don't learn anything except you learn things you don't need to know that end up becoming useless. I will say the one cool thing is what you learn about Dumbledore and the Phoenix. That's interesting, and there's a twist at the end that is cool, but you feel like you wasted 2 hours just to get there.
Just to get to that. Because literally nothing happened.
And here's the thing. I'm not going to say where it happens. But somebody gets a wand, never used a wand before, and immediately flicks it and blows up a mountain. How does that happen? And then my comment was, why does Hogwarts even exist if you can just pick up a wand and blow up a mountain? Why do you need to go to school for years and years if you can just pick it up and do it?
Just gonna point out that you're the one, when we left the movie the other night, you were the one that liked it more than I did. You've been going on for 15 minutes.
You were more miserable than me. But
I was mad.
I'm just... Okay. I'll say this to get off of it, but during watching all those movies, the Sci-Fi Channel had a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. So I saw they went behind the scenes of how they had a person who, just for how to do the wand, like you would have a martial artist training people how to do martial arts. So on every movie, someone would get with the actor, and they would figure out how they use the wand. They would teach them how certain spells, you need to do certain movements, but they would figure out each person's style with the wand. I mean, that's a lot of in-depth shit that didn't go into this movie. It's like it didn't matter. None of that mattered.
Johnny Depp is a great character actor, okay? He had nothing to do in this movie.
Except talk.
It's like giving Gary Oldman, who was... not Gary Oldman, Ray Fiennes, who was Voldemort.
Yeah.
He who shall not be named. They gave that guy, by the time he shows up in the movies, you are already terrified of him. Right. This guy just pops in. We've never heard of him before.
And they try and build up how bad he is, but then he just never lives up to it.
So when I say we never heard him before, that's not true. But what I mean is he just is dropped in and suddenly he walks slow. He does that whole villain thing where he's just walking slow and looking around. And it's like his walk is supposed to be intimidating, but it's not motivated by anything because he also does nothing in the movie.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't... There's no weight to anything. There's no, Anyway,
we spent a lot more time.
So that's Crimes of Grindelwald.
I was frustrated by how lame the movie was.
Okay, so then fast forward to 36 hours later, we walk into a movie that you didn't want to see as much.
Right.
You were less enthusiastic about, but I kept saying, Brad, I'm going to tell you, this guy Steve McQueen, he made a movie called Hunger that was great. He made a movie called Shame that was great.
My problem is I haven't seen those movies.
And then he made 12 Years a Slave, which was great.
Yeah.
And, yeah, your problem is you haven't seen them, but you just, I've already seen that movie before. Do I really want to see that? No. I'll go with you if you're going to go, you said.
I guess the trailers didn't sell it for me. But after you explained it to me, then it made me excited.
Well, you can't pay attention to the trailers. They're all lying to you.
Most of the time, we can make good judgments of whether or not we'll like the movie.
Yeah, and I could tell by this trailer that I thought I was going to get a good, but I also knew who the filmmaker is. I know,
I'll say this. The trailer was put together by the same people that put together all the other trailers, so it came off to me as just like every other movie.
Another heist movie, yeah.
But one of the best movies this year, I would say.
Yeah.
Story, characters, everything.
It's written by Gillian Flynn, and it's based who wrote Gone Girl and Sharp Objects, which was on HBO earlier in the summer.
Pretty good.
It's HBO, not Showtime. But it was based on a miniseries that was on the BBC.
Oh, yeah.
Decades ago. I don't really know when it was. I don't know much about it. I didn't want to read into it.
But...
Well, he mentioned it was his childhood. He's our age, maybe a little older.
He said it was a dream since he was a kid. So I guess,
yeah. We're old enough to be decades.
That was cool, by the way. I usually don't like when a director says, "Hey, look at me, I made this movie." Mm-hmm. But to come on and say, "Look, this is a passion project. I wanted to do this since I was a kid. I hope you enjoy it." I really felt that he was just being sincere. Yeah. And I appreciated that. That was cool.
Why they do that these days, where they have the actor or the director or whatever start the beginning of the movie?
Why?
They do that because they're trying to get people to realize it's a ploy to get people to appreciate going to the theater.
Oh,
so
we already do, but most people don't.
Many people don't. They might as well have been watching that on their iPhone,
Oh,
and at home somewhere or stream it somewhere. Wait till it comes out on video. So they're more and more doing that because they want people to, when they come to the theater, they want to say thanks for coming to see our movie on the big screen. A lot of people, a lot of hours, a lot of passion goes into making this movie that, and we think it's perfect for the big screen. So.
I hate to say this, but about, I don't know, maybe 30% of the people I know talk about, they commonly will stream a movie illegally, I guess. Yeah. Like, people don't even download them anymore like they used to. Now you can just find a website and stream it. Yeah. But then you get viruses and shit on your computer, but they don't care. But yeah, there's at least 2 people I know that...
Yeah, well, you don't know the
stream it.
The teenagers I know, they all do it.
So I can see how the director would come on and say thank you for actually coming to the theater instead of just, like you said, getting it on your phone or just streaming it at your leisure. Yeah. And you were even appreciative because there was the theater was pretty full.
Theater was full.
And,
so, so Gillian Flynn, the original story took place in UK somewhere, Britain somewhere. I don't really know I don't know the detail because I didn't want to look into it too much. Let's just say
the story that inspired him was a TV series when he was a kid.
So they reset it in Chicago.
This, in my opinion, this had nothing to do with that. It's just a story that's been in his brain for a long time.
They adapted it from that miniseries and reset it in Chicago. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay. But really, it's just a bunch of women whose husbands were thieves.
Yeah, but it's the same story. You can't just say...
He's giving them credit. I'm just saying it's not that, but okay. Are the characters...
It was even called Widows.
Are the characters the same Widows. Names?
I don't know.
I don't know either. See, we don't do much
I
research.
didn't look into it because I don't want to... We don't normally get into it. It's like I don't dissect it before we go see it. We just got back from the theater, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, it does a great job of setting... First of all, it starts out really quiet.
First of all, I really appreciated how all the characters... they're not... It's so much better than the movies we're used to seeing this movie because every single character has a backstory and a reason for why they are who they are, why they do what they do. I was surprised by some of the things characters did in this movie because it was unexpected. Like the movie does a good job of making you look over here and saying, look at this over here, and then surprising you.
So the amount of name people in this movie are impressive, and it's mostly because Steve McQueen is a director that people want to work with. Viola Davis, Michele Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, Liam Neeson, of course, is in it. John Bernthal, which is the guy, Shane from The Walking Dead.
Also The Punisher.
Oh, yeah, him too. I've forgotten about that because I've never watched it. Robert Duval is in it. Robert Duval is...
He's good.
He's got maybe 3 scenes.
He's never a bad guy, but he plays a good bad guy.
He comes in this movie, and every scene just like... Here, let me show you how to be a movie star. How to do it. How to be a real actor. Yeah. He just knocks it. Collin Ferrel is in it. You almost feel sorry for the people in the scene with him, particularly Collin Ferrel, who was his son in the movie.
Yeah.
God.
I just want to say, like, he starts out as a bad guy, but by the end of the movie, you think of him as a good guy. So many people...
Well, people are... It's not even that. It's not even good guy, bad guy. It is everybody is living in the gray.
Yeah.
Everybody is living in gray.
Who's the actor
Daniel
you're talking about? Daniel Kaluuya. He was the guy in Get Out.
Kaluuya, I think is his name.
Okay, by the way, one of my favorite scenes in the movie he's involved in. It surprises you. But... So, I want to make the point that every character in this movie, from the good guy to the bad guy, even early on in the movie, you see some typical storytelling mechanics, and you're like, okay, that's the bad guy. These are the good guys. But throughout the movie, they tell just enough. You see just enough of their story to start seeing how, well, not really a bad guy. He's trying to be good. He's trying to do better. Or this person isn't necessarily a good person. Everyone is in the gray. The good people will do some bad things. The bad people do some good things. So it's not just like good guys and bad guys. It's just, I guess while you're watching a movie, you feel more for certain characters than you do the others, so you want them to come out in the end. But it's just does such a good job where you care for everyone. I pointed to a guy and said, "That's the bad guy," early on in the movie. Yeah. I said that to you.
Yeah.
And then throughout the movie, I'm like, oh man, I think I like this guy.
Yeah. So the movie, so the plot is, and you see it. It's called Widows, so it's no surprise that the main character's husbands die in a.
Real quick, I want to stress that everyone, man, you care about these people. Like usually these entourage movies, it's just like, oh, it's just coincidence. They just throw people together. Everything makes sense. Everyone ends up joining or doing what they're doing for good reasons. It makes sense that they were there when that happened.
So the plot of the movie is like I said in the trailer, the main character's husbands die in a job gone bad, and they decide to pick up the reins from where they left it and basically go, steal some money to basically survive and to
each of them are in such a bad spot,
right?
Because from their husbands, all their husbands were really shitty. I guess they just left when they're gone. Everyone's left with nothing.
Yeah, what this movie has that, because that could be like you were just saying, that could be any throwaway Ocean's whatever movie, just a heist, trying to pull off a heist.
You don't know anything about those characters, just that this guy's quirky, this guy says funny things, this guy has acrobatic skills.
The character development, the acting, the way they shot it, it shot much more like it subverts the genre is what it's called. It subverts the genre of a heist movie. And it's more about the characters.
Yeah, but it does away with all the gimmicks, like with what is his name? There's a director, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
you're used to all those movies, with all the music like with the hip hop, whatever, and then the screen will pause and freeze, and then put their name up and what they do and all of that. Just get rid of all that stupid shit and.
Long shots. A lot of scenes play out in very long takes.
Yeah, there's like a 3 or 4 minute scene where two characters were talking in a car, but you're outside of the car. Half of the screen is what's on the street, and the other half is the driver. Yeah. And you can barely even see the driver because the reflection on the window. Yeah. And so the whole scene, you go from one scene to another scene while they're talking in a car, and you don't see the people who are talking, but you see the neighborhood they're in, the people in the background. So it's really explanatory, even just in that. Mm-hmm. You get more, not just the dialogue, but just in what you see is telling you a story of that neighborhood.
So you have long shots of people's faces, just sitting there looking out windows, thinking, and you can see the gears shifting, and the acting is so good. A lot of people think acting is, I got to be doing something, but they literally will just sit there and stare at a window, and it sucks you in, even though they're not doing, air quotes, they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, and you're just watching them figure it out in their heads. It's so artfully done. It's like shot through glass, and you see people, like little reflections of people in like glass, the way glass, like, you don't really get a clear picture of somebody. It just sort of like it breaks up the look on their face, and you see the reflection of the city. It just is very well done. The suspense is driven by, not so much by the will they or won't they achieve the thing, but is more driven by It's not even driven like the trailer sets it up to where it seems a little bit more like, can these poor helpless widows pull it off? It's not even like that. It's just they just hit the ground running and they start dealing with it, and it is intense. It's the does this part of the story and this part of the story and then the other part of the story, does it click into place so that what they need to do can happen or not?
What's really great is that when you take a few minutes to find out a character's backstory, it's so efficient in just filling you in on why they're doing what they're doing and how they're. By the way, every character you see how they're conflicted. Mm-hmm. Every decision, everything each and every character is doing, they are conflicted on. No one's enjoying what they're having to do.
Yeah.
And they should spend a few minutes showing you this is why they don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And even though there's a woman that you could say sleeps around, but you have a scene after she lives with her husband and her mother's there, and just with the little bit of her mother talking, and you can tell, she's not necessarily happy with this arrangement, and she even gets with the guy and is and you feel like she wants to do that. Mm-hmm. She's sleeping with him and stuff, but every time they do it, you feel like, well, she did choose to do this, but then she's not necessarily happy with it.
I wouldn't say that as sleeping around. I would say that as she was a drop-dead gorgeous model type that maybe had finally reached a point in her life where she said so early in the movie,
that was how she used to be.
She said, I'm gonna do what I want to do for myself now. I'm not taking orders from anybody.
It starts out where her husband is kind of taking advantage of her, and then by the middle of the movie, she's slapping the main character, saying, "No, you ain't telling me what to do."
Right. Her own self-worth was wrapped up in her physical attributes.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
She was actually my favorite character.
Yeah.
Because the cycle that she goes through where she realizes that she can do it. She was literally an abused wife at the beginning, slapped around and stuff. And the way the scene with the husband where he's like, put this makeup, it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad having to look at that. And she's like, well, it makes me feel bad too. And it's clear that he's the one that put the bruise on her face. It's like, why, but he's like, and then he makes it her fault that he feels bad. It's your fault. You cover that up. It's making me feel bad. Like, you fucking hit me in the face. You should feel bad.
It's such great writing because you didn't have to see him hit her. No one had to say, you hit me, or he hits me, or you make me. It just, you see the thing, and then he said, just like a couple of sentences is all you need to explain it. Yeah.
There are moments in this movie where the audience gasped when this certain thing happened. There were multiple times. There are moments where people cheered for certain characters, and
everyone in the audience actually clapped when a certain scene happened with it was like a woman empowerment moment where typically in a movie like this it would be a certain way, but it was like, boom, nope, she took care of it.
And it was it's a very satisfying movie.
It's you get a big middle finger for the audience to the the good guy who ends up being a bad guy, and you're like, F you, bad guy.
It's satisfying. You're watching it all the way through, and it's not just like, I'm not even referring to the ending. It's just the characters working it out and finding their place, figuring themselves out, is satisfying to watch because you really feel for them in the first 10 minutes. First 10 minutes, you feel for them because you know that for the most part they're totally sideswiped by what happened in the very beginning. But it transitions in the very beginning. Okay, the very first thing is you see Liam Neeson, who is married to Viola Davis in the movie. They're together. It's just a close up on their face. They're in bed. They're having an intimate moment, and then suddenly, boom! It gets really loud, and it just cuts to the job going bad, and the people hanging out the van as it's speeding away. Yeah. It was
it's done really well.
It's done really well.
You really feel you're in the van, and the door's falling off, and all that's happening.
Yes, Steve McQueen, who has really only done drama, like serious dramas at this point. In fact, 2 of his movies have been really small, low-budget dramas. 12 Years a Slave was not a huge movie, but it had a bigger budget. But it was also still just a drama. This movie had, like, action elements with people fighting and shooting and cars blowing up and stuff like that. He handled it so well, and he did not adjust his style because he's making a genre film. He shot a Steve McQueen movie. He shot a Steve McQueen heist movie, and that's what I liked about it so much is it does sit there, but it also will click and move and twist and turn. Also, just very artfully done. It's a beautiful looking movie, and it's a great tense movie, like tension from characters and tension from story. It's a very well conceived, well put together, like thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting how even the dog was a central character. The lady was, but I could see how she would be. You know, if my husband just died,
like therapy.
Like
what's it called? A
therapy.
Not they're called a
therapy animal. What do you mean?
I can't think of the name. The service dog.
I guess.
Service animal. That's what they're called.
She was using it. Well, that's for people with disabilities. She was using it for
she's
therapy.
Using it like a service dog. Like she kept the dog with her.
It's more of a therapy dog than a.
Either way,
service
it's
dog.
the same fucking thing.
But
I'm trying to say the correct term.
I don't think you're correct.
They don't have a therapy dog.
There is such a
service
thing.
dog is there for therapy, but they call it a service dog, service animal.
Okay. Anyway,
so the little dog that shows up in the movie is a little white dog that reminds Brad of his dog. Anytime a dog shows up,
a little dog.
Anytime a little dog shows up, Brad says to me,
they better not hurt the dog or I'm leaving.
Right. And then right when you said that, the guy picks the dog up by the scruff and holds it up in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if Brad leaves, I am not walking out of this movie theater because I want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog's whimpering and like whimpering.
I'm glad that everyone in Hollywood knows the rules. Like in John Wick. If you kill the dog, then everyone involved with killing the dog dies. But for the most part, you can sort of tease with maybe hurting the dog, but just don't. The dog, dogs and cats, or you just don't. Yeah. Don't kill the pet because they're like killing kids.
But the dog is used as story, like
leverage.
The dog actually in other parts of the story helps figure things out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
and it makes sense. By the way, you don't get. You have M. Shyamalan level twists in this movie at points, but they're not delivered in a spectacular M. Shyamalan reveal way.
They're not delivered in like, here's the twist, where's the twist, here's the twist, here, look at the twist. It's out on display for everybody to sit in wonder and revel at the twist. Yeah. It just happens, and it moves on from there.
It happens, and then the character's like, almost in shock, and then they go away, and then they deal with, oh my god, yeah. Did that just happen? Yeah. It's so artfully...
So well done, and restraint. There's restraint there.
That's what I guess I'm saying.
So well done. Yes. I loved this movie. I wanted to love this movie, so I went in there. Now that doesn't always do me any favors, because I wanted to love A Star Is Born, but didn't.
Well, we enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was better than Bohemian
Rhapsody.
Rhapsody.
I wanted it to be good, and I went in and I was glad that it was good.
You were selling me on how good it was going to be all the way up until we saw it.
And again, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Crimes of Grindelwald, 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe even lower now that it's been out for a couple days.
Most of the time, Rotten Tomatoes has it correct.
Yeah, and I'm always looking at the critics' score.
The critics have it right most of the time.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there are some people who disagree with critics, and they're like, if a critic doesn't like it, I go see it because I don't do that. I kind of agree with not all the critics.
It's just a good warning sign but you know how to prepare yourself by looking at the critics' rating.
Anyway, it's good. Go see it. You got a Thanksgiving break. If you're looking for a movie to go see with your, it's not a.
By the way, don't bring the
kids. It's rated R, yeah. So It's if you
because there's nudity. Don't bring the kids.
Oh yeah, if you want to take your adult friends out to see like a good, and I will say that it's not just a girl power movie. I feel like men, women. It's a good story. There's a good story.
Everyone should see it.
Just so happens to have female main characters, but they don't beat you over the head with the girl power. Look at Wonder. They don't do any of that. No, it just is a solid story.
They're just people being people. Each character is you see how and why they are who they are. And
Gillian Flynn, that's an example of somebody who wrote novels. And then wrote a screenplay and did a great job. Like Gillian Flynn wrote her books are. Yeah. Is it Gillian or Jillian? I can't remember how to. I'm not sure. It's always her name.
Gillian, I believe.
So anyway, her books, Gone Girl. She's got a couple. She's got a handful of books. That, by the way, the books are all great too. She is able to do screenwriting so well, and so does Steve McQueen.
So I guess we're saying. If a book writer can write a movie so well, why couldn't J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, what's she struggling with? Yeah.
So why did we have such great characters in storytelling in Widows, but we had the opposite? By the way, my comment was ultimately what I felt like most of the Grindelwald movie was that I felt like I was watching a book where a book you get to spend the time on all this explanatory of the characters and this, that, and the other. But people were just talking about things that didn't matter. Anyway. Yeah. Why? I don't know. But that is a good question.
So, this week...
I feel like with some things, you just only have so much you can give to a certain, world that you create as a writer, and then you're just... you don't have any more... I don't know.
I don't know. It just anyway.
Quit while you're ahead.
I want to leave this on a good feeling because I loved Widows. I'm already done thinking about Harry Potter thing again. So this week you got Thanksgiving. So you got Wreck-It Ralph coming out in the middle of the week. Comes out on Wednesday. Not so sure about. I loved the first one.
Yeah, first one's
but
great. These
trailers haven't convinced me that it's up there. Yeah. However, I'm going in with an open mind because I love John C. Reilly and the Wreck-It Ralph thing. Sarah Silverman. Great. Yeah, I love the whole tone of the first one. If they kept up with that and they tell a good story like they did the first time, we'll be all right. But also, we plan on seeing Can You Ever Forgive Me and Beautiful Boy.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah, so we'll see that this week as well. And we'll be letting you know. So
we may cram 2 movies in another episode like we did this one. We did a good job. I don't even think we're an hour yet. Maybe we are. We got 2 in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one bad one and one good one. So we didn't really want to talk about the bad one.
Yeah, but we need to. We should.
So that's it for this week. Movieisms@gmail.com. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram as Beckemeyer.
I'm at Balding Ewok.
Yep, and you can send us an email or go to our website, movieisms.com, and subscribe. Send us a message. If you loved Harry Potter, I would love to hear from you because I just want to hear somebody's explanation of what they thought was.
Tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week.
Oh, here's my part. The end.
Movieisms is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you'd like to find out more, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you click like on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/movieisms. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review in iTunes. It only takes a minute and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see you at the movies.